once again showing immense resilience to get over that game. 3-0 win away at Fulham, smashing Palace and Leeds 4-1 quite comfortably, and of course then the 2-2 draws. The 2-2 draws. So they've shown immense maturity throughout the league. That is undeniable. Immense maturity. Whenever they've been punched in the face, they've come back and they've punched harder. And they've been able to overcome a lot. Probably the only thing that they haven't been able to overcome is mass injuries. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the 2 Footed Tackle podcast. I'm your host, Ari Stamatakos. We're back again, another week, another episode 32. I think it's 32. I'm not going to check because I should know, and if I don't know, then it just reflects poorly on me. But it is episode 32, and regardless, we're back again for another week, and we're back again with a lot to speak about, quite a few funny topics in particular. But we're going to crack into those very, very soon. But before we start, I hope everyone's well. I hope everyone has enjoyed their weekend. Happy Orthodox Easter to those who celebrated. I certainly did. I'm very tired, hence why the drink of choice today is a Powerade. Not because I'm hungover, just because I'm exhausted and I need all the electrolytes and energy. No sugar as well, so it doesn't stain the tongue or the lips as well, which is good. But yeah, that's the drink of choice today. Not sponsored. Would be cool if it was, but not sponsored. Also, speaking of sponsorships, I went on a football town. Here we go, on a football town binge shop the other day. So you're going to be seeing a lot of football town merch being worn by me on this podcast in the near future. If anyone is listening from Football Town, I will promote the shit out of your website if you just send me some. Just send me some free shit. I will promote the shit out of it. I love it. Anyway, there you go. That's a bit shameless there, that right there. But yeah, happy Orthodox Easter for those who celebrated. Happy Easter last week for those who celebrated. Who celebrated that Easter, of course. And if you don't celebrate Easter, happy weekend. Hope you enjoyed all the chocolates that have been half price and etc. etc. But yeah, it's been a pretty good weekend. Still kind of suffering with the cold, so if I do sound a little bit nasally, that's probably why. But I'm over the worst of it, which is good. And as we crack on to, there's a little bit of a sniffle. As we crack on to some pretty good topics of football to speak about. Before we start, What am I doing? Plugging now. This is where I plug. Before we start, make sure you subscribe to 2 Footed Tackle podcast as well. 10 subscribers away from 400. If we could hit that, that'd be great. That would mean the world to me. All that's notification bell, like the video, like the podcast, all the clips, etc. TikTok, 2 Footed Tackle podcast. Instagram, 2 Footed Tackle podcast. Twitter, 2FTPod. That is the number 2 FT and then pod, and then all the audio platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. And there's a Linktree bio, Linktree link. I say Linktree bio every single time. Linktree link in the bio of both Twitter and Instagram for all the 2 Footed Tackle podcasting needs. Oh, we got there in the end. Jesus Christ. So let's crack on. Speaking about a couple of things today. I feel like this is the part of the season where we have to speak about the title race almost every week. So we're going to be chatting about quite a few things regarding the Premier League, of course. We're going to be speaking about Arsenal and what they did over the weekend. We're going to speak about Tottenham and what they did over the weekend. I want to speak about Dortmund and what they did, which is absurd. I want to speak about the relegation battle in the Premier League, and then we'll finish up with some A-League chat as well, in which we had the Premiers crowned, which is good for the league. We've got Premiers crowned. Not good as a victory supporter, but I digress. We're going to carry on into that. Premiers are announced. They are. Okay, let's crack on. Let's start things off. Let's speak about Arsenal. Where do we start with this? Because obviously they fell on the weekend again. 2-2 draw at West Ham, being 2-0 up and cruising well and truly on their way before choking another 2-0 lead after leading and being quite convincing, especially in the first maybe half an hour. Jesus scored nice and early. Odegaard followed not so soon after, or not so far after, not so long after. That's the saying. And it looked to be back on track. Blip last week. Arsenal going to carry on their merry way and go on and win the Premier League. But no, but West Ham who are playing for survival in their own right, had different ideas and came back with a side better on the penalty and a Jared Bowen kind of deflection goal. Right. Where do we start here? I feel like we need to give credit to West Ham because they were under the cosh. They were under the pump big time, considering their kind of run in. Considering where they are and their run. The run in is pretty tight, pretty tough. They've got Liverpool, City, United, Leicester as well, which is relegation 6-pointer. Leeds relegation 6-pointer, Palace as well away from home is going to be tough, and Bournemouth as well. So they've got a couple of relegation 6-pointers, a couple of teams in the top echelons of the table. So they have a pretty tough run in, and this was a game where not picking up points wasn't a necessity, but it was almost if we pick up points here, that's going to do us a world of good. They managed to get the points that they needed. 1 point away, or 1 point at home to Arsenal was a pretty good point in my book. I don't know about you, as I quickly fix the focus sensor on my camera, as I noticed it was slightly off center, but we're back. Okay, yeah, it's a good point, and we have to give credit to West Ham for sure. That is something that we need to do. We need to give credit to West Ham. However, I think that's not the story. That's not the story. As much as West Ham were good, and as much as West Ham deserved to have, as much as West Ham were should be the story in some respects, it's Arsenal. It's Arsenal. And they now are in a very, very, very precarious position. They sit 4 points clear. City have a game in hand and a better goal difference. And, of course, City host Arsenal in a couple of games' time. City host Arsenal on Thursday the 27th of April, the day before my birthday. In 10 days' time. Wow, we're getting into, I don't know how to describe it, but we're getting into this position now where everything feels so big. Everything feels so big, and we felt it last year as well. Hence why I'm going to be speaking about the updates of the title race every week, because I feel like this is now crunch time. 8 games to go for Arsenal, 9 games to go for City. This is where shit gets real, and this is where it's almost like everything has so much weight to it. Now there's no room for error. There's no room for error. Arsenal knew that. Arsenal, while their squad isn't experienced in title charges in a sense, they're an experienced enough squad to understand a lot. They're an experienced enough squad to understand jeopardy, in particular. When we look at the squad that played over the weekend, you have Ramsdale, who's been in countless relegation battles, who's been relegated how many times? He knows jeopardy. Tierney, very big leader kind of in that dressing room. He would understand jeopardy. Apologies. Ben White as well understands jeopardy. Holding has been there forever. He understands what it's about. Martinelli and Jesus, both with Brazil, understand jeopardy. Saka with England understands jeopardy. Odegaard has been through that Real Madrid system. He knows what it's like to have pressure on him big time. Partey as well, similar mould. Xhaka as well, similar mould, very experienced. Gabriel, maybe less so, but he still is it seems to be a very, very mentally strong footballer. So you would think he would understand the pressure. And of course, it's a side that is relatively full strength. Of course, William Saliba is obviously the big out in that. And he's a massive player for them. Not only for defensively, but mentality-wise as well. You underestimate the ability that a player like that can have on a team. Their absence, I should say. I think a player that reliable and a player that kind of solid has a major mental... There is a mental hurdle to get over when he's not in the team for the rest of the squad. Because as much as Rob Holding's been good, he's not that level. He'll never get to Saliba's level. And Saliba isn't even at his peak yet, which is quite scary when you think about it. But it's tricky. It's tricky. Now, they obviously go into the game, they go 2-0 up like they did last week. They coughed it up like they did last week. Saka misses the penalty, which... I mean, I'm not going to say it had uncanny similarities to what Martinelli did last week, but Saka misses the penalty that West Ham got up the other end and score, make it 2-2. I think... It's tricky. It's really tricky. It really is tricky because there's a couple of different avenues in which you could probably analyze this from or take the conversation to. Firstly, has the pressure got to them? Are they not ready? Are they not ready for it? Maybe they are. Maybe they aren't ready for it. Maybe they aren't, and maybe it's 1 year too early. Maybe it's a year, 2 years too early for them, and they just can't get over that hurdle. Maybe they're just an immature team. Maybe it's that, and I don't want to jump to any conclusions because they've shown immense maturity throughout the year. Immense maturity. How many times have we thought, yeah, this is where Arsenal will fall off. This is where Arsenal fall off, and they just keep fighting back, keep pressing, and keep going, and just keep going. You look at their loss. They lost to Everton. They drew at home to Brentford, and they lost to City. That's a big oh no moment for them. And then all of a sudden, they go 1-0 down away at Villa. They bring it back to 1, or they go 2-1 down away at Villa. And you're thinking, this is it. You've lost 3 of your last 4, got 1 point in your last 4 Premier League games, and you're 2-1 down away at Aston Villa halfway through the first half. That's it. This is where it falls. They're going to lose this game. They're going to skid. They're going to slide for the rest of the season. But no, they fought back. They were resilient. They fought back, and they ended up winning that game 4-2. And then they went on a pretty impressive win streak, which has lasted all the way up until the Liverpool game, which included a win over Leicester 1-0. They avenged their Everton loss 1-4-2. 1-4-0. That Reece Nelson goal in the 97th minute against Bournemouth after being 2-0 down, once again showing immense resilience to get over that game. 3-0 win away at Fulham, smashing Palace and Leeds 4-1 quite comfortably, and of course then the 2-2 draws. The 2-2 draws. So they've shown immense maturity throughout the league. That is undeniable. Immense maturity. Whenever they've been punched in the face, they've come back and they've punched harder. And they've been able to overcome a lot. Probably the only thing that they haven't been able to overcome is mass injuries. Saliba out's obviously big. They had that period where Jesus was out as well. But they haven't lost Partey for that long, if at any stage throughout the season. They haven't lost Gabriel and Saliba at the same time. They haven't lost Ramsdale. They haven't lost Saka. They haven't lost a lot of key players. So maybe that's the only thing that you can say. All right, they haven't really faced adversity from that perspective. But they've faced adversity throughout the season. And they faced the most unique Premier League season of all time because of the World Cup break. And they came back. So they had won all but one game up until the World Cup break in the league. That's correct? Yeah. And then they came back and they won 1, 2, 3, 4. They won 4 out of their 5 games in the league coming back into the season after the World Cup. So they've shown maturity in multiple different avenues. They've shown maturity and they've shown a composure throughout their squad. It's not like everything's gone right for them this season. They've had a lot of adversity throughout the season and within games as well. And this is what makes this back end of the season very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Because we know they've battled through a lot of adversity. They've battled through a lot of adversity throughout the season. Maybe barring immense injuries, but apart from that, they've battled adversity. And they've overcome it time and time again. 2-0 down at home to Bournemouth. They came back and won 3-2. 2-1 down away at home to Villa, away at Villa. They came back and won that 4-2. They have shown maturity a lot throughout the season. Now it's to the point where, is this one too far? Is this one step too far? Is the Premier League 7 weeks too long for them? Which I think we're going to have to wait and see. Because both of the games against Liverpool and West Ham, they started the game like a house on fire and they fell away. And we saw in the games in which I mentioned before, it was the other way around. They started the game poor and finished like a house on fire. That shows a little bit more maturity, in my opinion, doing it that way, being able to overcome resilience and not letting their heads drop. They have the second best, or the third best defensive record in the league, and the second best goal attacking record in the league. The only teams that have conceded less goals than them this season are Man City and Newcastle. And the only team that have scored more goals than them is Man City. So maybe you look at it and think Man City are just a better team. I don't know. But what we do know is Arsenal are very good. Like that. Like you need to look. I think when you're analysing, when you're analysing the final 2 months of the season, you need to look at facts. You need to look at facts and then kind of take your analysis away, or like broaden your analysis and expand your analysis from those facts. Let's look at the facts. Results-wise this season, Arsenal have been the best team in the league, obviously, because they're even if City win their game in hand, they're going to be equal on points, but Arsenal are going to have one more point. So results-based, Arsenal are the best team this season, even regardless of their game in hand. Okay. When you look at injuries, when you look at external factors that could inhibit the next 2 months. Arsenal, when we look at their injuries, it's El Neni, whatever. Tomiyasu, an MCL injury mid-May, which probably doesn't affect them that much, and Saliba with the back, which is at a test according to FOTMOB. So yeah, the injury record for them is not great. It's not great. Saliba's a big out, obviously, but it's not catastrophic. They can cover, right? When we look at cities, I don't actually know cities, but when we look at cities, they've got Foden out. And Foden hasn't played since March. And he got injured on international break. So they're pretty much completely fit. And with their attacking stocks, I know Foden's great, but yeah. So City probably have a better injury run at it. When we look at form, or when we look at the run-in, asked for City, it's Arsenal, Fulham, West Ham, Leeds, Everton, Chelsea, Brentford. Pretty easy. Southampton, whereas for Arsenal, it's Southampton, City, Chelsea, Newcastle, Brighton, Forest, Wolves. When we're ranking the games, I think the only team that both teams verse is Chelsea, if I'm not mistaken, and Brentford. I think that's right. No, the only team that both teams verse is Chelsea. And Chelsea's a harder game for Arsenal. Let's get that. Like, I know that's weird, but because Arsenal are better, technically. But Arsenal versus Chelsea is harder for Arsenal than Man City versus Chelsea is for Man City. That's just a fact of the matter, right? It's kind of hard to explain, but it just is, right? It just is. And Arsenal fans will agree. Arsenal would rather verse... I would go as far as to say Arsenal would rather verse Manchester United than Chelsea right now, to be honest. Because of Chelsea season's done, the one thing they want is for Arsenal not to win the league, right? So that's what they're going to be aiming for. So I would say I don't have both fixtures side by side, but I would assume that both are relatively even in terms of difficultness. So that's obviously a big issue for them, for both even. City obviously have Champions League, which is big. They're probably going to go through 3-0 up at home or 3-0 up going to the Allianz. I'd be shocked. Shocked if they didn't go through. So, yeah. It's tricky. It's a tricky thing. And I don't know where to go. I want to answer a big question, though. And I want to give my opinions on a big question. And that is, if Arsenal, let's live in a reality where Arsenal don't win the league. Which is a reality of Man City win their game in hand and Man City get a point in their game against Arsenal. Both teams win the rest of their games. Man City will probably win the league on goal difference. So let's live in the reality of Arsenal drop points in one more game for the rest of the season, and that's the Man City game, and Man City go on to win the league on goal difference. Is it a bottle? Is it a bottle? Is it a bottle job? I think it's very difficult to say. I think it is. And for a couple of reasons. Firstly, for a bottle job to occur, it needs to be, in my opinion, a team needs to be clear favourites for a pretty substantial period of time and then not win it in order for them to become bottle jobs. I'll use this example. Tottenham. In that 2-year period where Tottenham should have won the league probably 2 seasons in a row, if we're being honest, they were the best team over 2 calendar years and they didn't win the league. You cannot call both of them bottle jobs because the season Chelsea won it, Chelsea were by far the best team in the league that season. And Tottenham weren't even close. We're not even close. And the season with Leicester, Tottenham weren't top of the table at any stage of the season. Any meaningful stage. Yeah, they were second, and yeah, they were really good, but you can't say that they bottled it because they weren't in a position where they should have won it. Do you know what I mean? They were never in a position where their own fate was in their own hands, which makes it you didn't bottle it. Liverpool in 2013, the Gerrard slip, that was a bottle because their fate was in their own hands. That's a bottle. And they were clear favourites up until 2 match days, right? They were clear favourites. You can't call it a bottle, regardless if they don't win the league, because despite how many points ahead they've been, and despite how many points ahead they could have been in a sense, and despite how many points ahead they were at one stage of the season, and despite how well they were playing, and despite how poorly Man City were playing throughout periods throughout the season, you can't call it a bottle because I don't think at any stage throughout the season Arsenal were clear favourites to win the league. I think it's always been very, very tight, and I almost would go as far as to say, regardless of how far ahead Arsenal were, we all expected this to happen. We all expected Arsenal to drop a little bit, City to come back and make it really close, potentially go all the way to the final day. To me, that doesn't mean that they bottled it. However, crucially, Arsenal should look at themselves and think we bottled it. The reason why I say that is because you need to have accountability. And as a football club, and Mikel Arteta will have standards higher than 99% of people on planet Earth. He will look at that team and he'll look at the table and he'll look at the situation and think, okay, we were 9 points clear, 8 points clear, whatever we were, with maybe 15 games to go, relatively clean injury list. City dropping points in games in which they probably shouldn't have dropped points, like they lost to Forest away, they drew to Forest away, they lost to Tottenham, they lost to United, they drew to Everton, they lost to Brentford, dropping games which they shouldn't have dropped, dropping points in games they shouldn't have dropped points in. You look at that, you look at the Arsenal's injury record, you look at the table. Mikel Arteta should go to that squad and say, look, we should win the Premier League. We should win the Premier League trophy. And that is going to have and he has the expectations of winning the league for sure. I've got no doubt about that. And we saw in the documentary, in which I did a preview of at the start of this season, I'm pretty sure, which is mental. That felt like so long ago. Holy shit. I actually did a review of that, a review of that documentary at the start of this season. What was I going to say? Yeah, so we know, throughout the documentary, we saw the standards that Mikel Arteta holds with his players, his coaching staff, his club, and the way that they go about things, right? So we can safely assume that he will not be happy at all with anything but a Premier League win based on the season. If you ask him pre-season, if I told you pre-season that Arsenal would be 4 points clear with 8 games to go, he would have snapped your hand off. And he probably would have taken second place in that position, right? Because of what a lot of people thought about their squad last year, or at the start of this season. I had them nowhere near top, put it that way. I don't think I had them in the top 4, let alone top of the table. So I think from an internal perspective within the 4 walls, I've got to look at it and think, all right, we're on the verge of choking this year. But externally, and almost in an objective manner, I don't think you can call it a bottle job. I don't think you can. I think it's very unfair. I think it's very, very unfair. If it was the other way around, and City were in this position and had just drawn away to West Ham and had just drawn away at Anfield, and then were in a position where they were 9 points clear or whatever it was, and now they're only 4 points clear, and the other team has a game in hand. Then they call it then it's a bottle job because of the put it frankly stupid amounts of money that has been spent on that squad. Let's not beat around the bush. As I get up and close and personal there. That is why. So yeah. It's a very interesting back end of the season. Expectations have changed. As my throat has gone really dry there. Sorry. I might need a cough. So I'm going to pause the recording. I've paused the recording a couple of times throughout this episode already, so I'm not sure if you noticed, but I'm going to pause again and then regroup. Apologies for that. Anyway, yeah, you look at it and you think, okay, I forgot what I was saying. But when you look at both of these teams, you got to address them. You got to address it from different kind of perspectives, I think. And despite what a lot of people would think of the squad, and despite what a lot of people would be kind of like, despite what a lot of people have been saying about Arsenal and have been saying about the squad, you can't look at it from a manner in which you look at every other club. You've got to look at them almost in isolation. And in isolation, they're a squad that is very inexperienced, with a very inexperienced manager, in a position where they should have been. So regardless, you can't call it a bottle job. But if Arsenal want to be a serious club, and if Arsenal want to be challenging for top 4 and for titles in the near future, that is what they're going to have to hold themselves to, if that makes sense. So, yeah, it's quite funny and it's quite interesting. It's going to be so... I cannot wait to see how this season unfolds. And it's funny how the expectations have changed. It's funny how the expectations have changed from pre-season, where City were like, yeah, we have to win the league, etc., etc., and Arsenal were really just focusing for top 4. It's funny how the expectations have changed, and how fans have kind of flip-flopped. And I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. Or maybe, no, it would have been way more than a couple of weeks ago. I think I might have spoke about this a month ago, actually. And yeah, it would have been a couple of months ago, give or take. And I spoke about how fandom kind of shifts and expectations shift, and how the responses to questions shift and change based on how the season progresses. Ask your mate who's an Arsenal fan right now if they're going to win the league. It's a fascinating range of responses. Fascinating. If you've got a couple Arsenal fans who you know quite well, ask them, do you think you're going to win the league? Or are you going to win the league? You're going to get 3 different responses. If you can ask 3 people, you're going to get 3 different responses, I can guarantee you. Because you have the fans who have given up hope. Your fans who are like, yeah, we've had our run. We're going to fall short. City are going to overtake. They're going to win their game in hand. They're going to beat us at the Etihad, and they're going to run away with it. You've got those fans. You've got the, I don't want to jinx anything. We've been down before. We've come back. We've shown resilience, like I said, throughout the season, and we're just gonna wait and see. You've got those fans. You've got the, yeah, we'll win the league. Yeah, mate, we're good enough. We'll beat Man City at the Etihad. No dramas. And then you've got the people who are just like, I don't want to speak about it because they're just so nervous, right? You're going to get a range of different responses, and it's quite funny. It's quite interesting. And I don't envy them. I was going to say, I almost don't envy them, because that situation would be extremely stressful. And I'm kind of privileged. I'm in a position where I support a football club that wins trophies. There's a little backhander there. So yeah, it's quite funny. But I think it's time to move on, to be honest. I think it's time to move on. Before I ramble on for too long, as we touch on half an hour for this podcast. So let's move on, and let's speak about where are we here? Yeah, let's speak about Tottenham. let's speak about Tottenham. I don't want to speak about this for too long, and I think I'm going to couple Dortmund and Tottenham and Dortmund together. I genuinely don't think I've seen. As I move back ever so slightly, here we go. I just want to lean forward. You're going to get quite close if you're watching this, but I don't think I've seen I genuinely don't think I've seen bigger bottle jobs. I don't think I've seen clubs who are just perennial bottle jobs more in my life. You had Tottenham, who... fucking Tottenham, honestly. Tottenham were 1-0 up away at home to Bournemouth. 14 minutes gone, Heung-min Son scores. Happy days. Happy days as I go out of focus, but I don't care. Happy days. Let me center myself. Actually, instead of getting close, I want to get close for this one. I really want this setting. I'm going to pick up the microphone and bring it close to my mouth. You've got Heung-min Son who scores 1-0 up. There's a bit of an ASMR going on. 1-0 up at home to Bournemouth. Lowly Bournemouth, who sit 14th, won 9 games all year, have a minus 28 goal difference, have conceded 58 goals throughout the season. Lowly Bournemouth. They go 1-0 up, cruising. Yeah, going to win comfortably. All of a sudden, as we hit onto the 51st minute, they're 2-1 down. Right, okay. It happens. It happens. Small clubs do well sometimes. Fair enough. That's fine. No dramas. They manage to they claw their way back level 2-2, 88th minute. Danjuma scores. Happy days. You're laughing, right? 2-2, little bit of a scare, but we got through it. Happy days. Got through it. 2-2, it is what it is. Until the 95th minute. And a player who I'm convinced this bloke does not exist. I'm convinced this person just does not exist because I refuse to believe this person exists. Dango Otara. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's from the Burkina Faso. And there's only 2 players I've ever known ever play for Burkina Faso, and that is Bertrand Traoré and that centre-back that plays in the Bundesliga, who I cannot remember for the life of me, but he's very good. Tapsoba, that's it. He's 21 years old. He manages to kind of find his way into the box on the left-hand side, and he, approached by Højbjerg, manages to take it around Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, one of the better defensive midfielders in the Premier League, may I add, at his best. And he manages to open up his body. Thierry Henry style, if I am not mistaken, in terms of if I can remember this goal correctly or not. And he scores past Hugo Lloris. And Bournemouth, AFC Bournemouth, have scored in the 95th minute against Tottenham, away from home, to win the game. Is that not the most Tottenham thing you could ever imagine? I know I've got real close to the microphone, and I know it's peaking a lot, but I really wanted to ram this point home. Is that not the most Tottenham thing ever? Okay. So not only did that happen, let's travel several hundred miles, I assume, to Germany, to a club who I quite like, actually, and that is Borussia Dortmund. We all know Borussia Dortmund. We love Borussia Dortmund. The red and the yellow and black wall, Aubameyang, Royce, Götze, Blahovic. I can't remember if that was his name. Matt Hummels. We love Dortmund. They versus Stuttgart, who are good, but are in a relegation fight, right? And this is a Dortmund team who have been struggling recently, right? Bayern Munich have had a stranglehold over the Bundesliga for a long time. So any chance Dortmund can get to really take that first place and really ride with it to the back end of the season, they should take. Anyway, they're away at Stuttgart, and they go 2-0 up within half an hour. Lovely stuff. So Sebastian Haller makes it 1-0, and then 10 minutes later, Donyell Malen makes it 2-0. Lovely, lovely stuff. And then what makes it even better is that 6 minutes after they go 2-0 up, Konstantinos Mavropanos gets sent off for Stuttgart. Happy days. We're away to relegation Stuttgart. We're 2-0 up. The opposition down to 10 men. Bayern Munich have just dropped points to Hoffenheim of all teams. We're going to win this game and we're going to go top of the table. We're going to go equal top. How How bloody good. Right, okay. Well, that's what we thought was going to happen. Not only did Stuttgart get a goal disallowed for offside in the 52nd minute, so that even more luck goes their way, they manage to concede 2 goals in 6 minutes in the 78th and 84th minute to 10 men relegation fodder Stuttgart. And it's currently 2-2. You're thinking, okay, come on, Borussia, come on, Dortmund. Let's score. Come on. And then they bring on Giovanni Reina for Karim Adeyemi. And in the 93rd minute, the man comes on and scores the what should have been the winner. Hallelujah. Borussia Dortmund have finally grabbed that brass ring after years in the wilderness. But no, because of course not. 4 minutes later, in the 7th minute of added time, of course it could only have been one man. The player from, I don't even know what country that is, but if you play FIFA and you're a fan of Danny Aarons, you know exactly who scored this goal. He manages to get the ball, and he manages to get the ball, and you're thinking, no, it can't happen, right? It can't happen. There's no way it can happen. Dortmund are going to win this game comfortably. But Silas scores the goal in the 97th minute. I really want to preface this and emphasize 97th minute, and scores and equalises for Stuttgart in the 97th minute. Gets a yellow card for excessive celebration, and the game ends not long after. Borussia Dortmund have conceded 3 goals in 20 minutes to 10 men relegation fodder Stuttgart after being 2-0 up and 3-2 up. They drew the game. They now sit 2 points behind Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich have a relatively easy draw home, which is good for them. Borussia Dortmund, what's their draw like? They've got Gladbach, Wolfsburg, Frankfurt, Bochum, Augsburg, and Mainz. I'm not going to pretend I know where all those teams are in the Bundesliga table off by heart, but regardless, it's not an easier draw than Bayern Munich's. So, there you go. We just witnessed, I just want to emphasise this one more time before I put the microphone down because it's hurting my hands and it's quite heavy. We witnessed 2 of the biggest bottle jobs. I spoke about bottle jobs not just before with Arsenal. We witnessed the 2 biggest bottle jobs I think I've ever seen on the weekend. And it's by 2 of the most perennially bottle job ridden clubs I think I've ever seen. Which, I feel sorry for them. But also, I don't, because you do it to yourself. I like Dortmund. I hate Spurs. I despise that football. I hate that football club so much. I hate Tottenham Hotspur so much. I hate them. I hate them with a passion, with a visceral passion. But I like Dortmund, and to see them both grouped together as bottle jobs makes me a little bit sad, but you do it to yourself, so I've got my sympathy. So put my microphone down and relax, and you can all turn your volumes back up, as I did a little bit of an impromptu ASMR. But I want to get nice and real close, so really emphasise and ram the point home about how fucking ridiculous that is. Anyways, as I drink more of my Powerade, because I'm a little bit tired, let's move on. Let's finish up some European football chat by previewing the relegation battle. Let's get a little bit more hyped up, shall we? And let's not get this close to the microphone. Let's preview the relegation battle. Where do we start? Where do we start with the Prem relegation scrap? Because there is about 14 teams from 14th down, and everyone could go down and everyone could stay up. Southampton bottom with 23 points. Leicester second bottom with 25. Forest third bottom with 27. Everton 17th with 27. Leeds 16th with 29. West Ham 15th with 31. Bournemouth 14 with 33. We'll chuck Wolves in there. Wolves with 34 in 13th, and I think from Palace up are safe, I think. So yeah, let's just run through it quickly. Who do I think goes down? Let's go from bottom, like top-ish to bottom down. Bournemouth. Now, I don't have much faith in Bournemouth. I really don't. Their squad just isn't really that inspiring. I know they've had a pretty good run of form recently. Of course, they beat Liverpool, obviously beating Tottenham. But even that team that started against Tottenham, like Neto in goal, yeah, he's good, but is he great? I don't mind that defense. I like Mepham. I really like Lloyd Kelly. I really do like Lloyd Kelly. But is he that good, really? Really that good? Jack Stevens, I mean, God, fucking hell. Joe Rothwell. Joe Rothwell was playing at Blackburn last year. Marcus Tavernier is not bad. I don't mind him, but I feel like he's a player that needs a lot of better players around him to get the best out of him. Solanke up top sucks. Lerma's good. I don't mind him. Ryan Christie's good. I don't mind him. Billing, I don't really like Billing. I don't know. I don't know. There's something about him that I just don't really like. Also, the fact that he's 193 centimeters playing as an attacking midfielder is quite bizarre. But he scored 7 goals this season, which is not bad. And then Matthias Vinner on the left-hand side, who I've got no idea where he's come from Roma on loan. So their squad, Gary O'Neill as manager, Jayden Anthony off the bench, not bad. Kiefer Moore off the bench, not bad, but not a lot of faith, not a lot of oomph about that team. So not a fan of Bournemouth. West Ham, would like to see West Ham stay up, to be honest. I know as a Chelsea supporter, I'm not meant to say that. I know as a Chelsea supporter, I'm meant to be like, yeah, fuck you, fuck West Ham, all this stuff, fuck yeah, West Ham, Cockney accent, all that good stuff. That is shocking. But I don't mind West Ham. I wouldn't mind them staying up. I think they are too good to go down, to be honest. Also, seeing Lucas Paqueta and fucking Skamaka in the championship next season is going to be bizarre. So they'll probably leave, but if they do stay, it would be bizarre. Yeah, if you look at the side that side that played Arsenal is good. Like Fabianski is a solid Prem keeper. Soufal's not bad. Zuma is a Premier League player. Timo Kea is a Premier League player. Cresswell is a Premier League player. Souček, Rice, Paqueta, Benrahma, Bowen, Anthony. They're all Premier League players. They're way too good to go down. Way too good to go down. Even off the bench, like Cornet's a good player. Like Flynn Downs has quite a lot of potential. I know he's 24. But if he can get some good run, if he can get a good run in it, he can be like a solid lower tier Premier League player. I think Fornells is a good player in my opinion. Even the likes of like Ings is a Prem player, Lanzini is a Prem player. Ben Johnson I think could be a really good fullback, especially from the defensive side of things. Even as if you move him more centrally, like playing on the right hand side of the back three, I think Ben Johnson could be really really good. Emerson's a Prem player. Emerson's a Champions League winner, if you don't mind. So like they're way too good to go down. Way too good to go down. So yeah, definitely way too good to go down. Leeds, I like Leeds, but also fuck them. One of those things. One of those things. I like Leeds, but also fuck them. They are a club I love to hate, but also love to kind of like. Because I don't know, like anyone who knows this podcast, right? Anyone who knows me knows I am a massive nostalgia merchant, right? I love the 90s. I was born in 04 for God's sake, and I love the 90s. And when I think of 90s Premier League football, I think of Leeds, I think of Allen Road, I think of like Forest, I think of these teams. So I want to see Leeds stay up. Their squad I like. The squad I like a lot. I really do. I think Mellier's okay. Ayling, not that great. The defence I struggle with. But from their attacking half onwards, I think Rocker and McKennie are a great double pivot. Aronson just ahead of them. I think he's a good player. I really do. Bamford up front, he has shown he's a very good goal scorer, proven Premier League goal scorer. What did he score in his first season in the Prem? He scored 17 goals in his first season in the Prem. So he's a proven Prem goal scorer. Jack Harrison on the right wing, I think is okay, and Sinistera as well. I think has a very, very, very bright future. Only 23 years of age. Even off the bench, Rodrigo's good. Canotto, Wilfred Gnocco. I don't know. He's like gnocchi. He's like gnocchi, but like a gnocco. Maybe. I don't know, but he's good. I like him. Christiansen's good. Greenwood's good. Somerville's good. Forshaw's okay. Like, I want them to stay up, and I think they will stay up. I think they're fine. Everton. Fuck them. But also, I want to keep them. Again, it goes back to the thing I said about Leeds. I like the big Premier League proven clubs. But also, they're another team that I think are just too good to go down. Pickford, like, good goalkeeper. England's number one. Ben Godfrey, really good young player. Keane and Tarkovsky leave a little bit to be desired. Mikolenko, same. But Iwobi's good. Idris Gay's good. Dwight McNeil, I think, is good. Damari Gray's... Neil Maupai's fucking dog shit. James Garner, was he the one at United? Yeah, he's okay. He's still 22, isn't he? Yeah, so you can a little bit of potential there. And I'm not sure if I mentioned Iwobi, but I like Iwobi as well. Even if we take a look at their bench, Tom Davies I think he's good. Yerry Mina, I think he's good. Like, I think they're okay. I think Everton will be fine. Got a relatively easy run home. Actually, no, they don't. Fuck, their run home's kind of difficult. Palace away is tough. Newcastle at home, tough. Leicester away, relegation 6-pointer. Everton or Brighton at home, Brighton away, tough. City at home, tough. Wolves and Bournemouth, final 2 games. They should, if they take 6 points out of Wolves and Bournemouth, I think they stay up. Which they probably should do, and they could do. Let's go to Forest. Forest are uninspiring, aren't they? But also, I respect what they're doing. Like, I really respect what they're doing in terms of what they've done with Steve Cooper. They've just backed him in. I know they've spent stupid amounts of money, and for a promotion team, they should not be allowed to spend this type of money. But I like their team. I do. Like, I think, like, Navas, they've got Keylor Navas in goal. Like, they've got Keylor Navas in goal. Like, I know you should put him in the Nanny SBC, but still, they've got Keylor Navas in goal. They cannot go down. They can't go down. Like, I really struggle to believe that they're going to go down because of, like, just him himself. Renan Loddy's, I think, is good. Like, Gibbs White, I think, is another good Premier League player. Like, I think they're filled with a lot of just good Premier League players. Remo Fuller is a good player. Like, he's 31, was at Atalanta. I think he's a good player. I think they're filled with good players, but there's just too many of them that they can't fit into the team. Do you know what I mean? Like, they just can't fit into the team, which is obviously going to make them struggle a lot. Even Nico Williams as well, I don't mind. Former Liverpool player as well. So, yeah. Felipe, good player as well. So, I think they're going to be fine. I think they will. I think they're going to be fine. I don't even know who I'm predicting. I'm going to predict who's going to go down at the end of this. I don't even know. I haven't even looked at it yet. So if I've said I think they're going to be fine and then I'm predicting them to go down, not my fault. Let's go Leicester. Leicester, another team, way too good to go down, but they haven't won a game since February, and they've got 1 point since February. Jesus Christ, as my dog is going skits downstairs. I'm really hoping it doesn't pick up on the mic. I think it might, though. Let's look at the team that they played against Leicester. Once again, a fine Premier League team. Like, Iverson in goal. They should never have gotten rid of Schmeichel. Never have gotten rid of Schmeichel. That is the dumbest thing any football club's ever done. If you're going to get rid of him, get him a replacement in straight away, because fuck me. I think Soyuncu's fallen off a cliff, but I think he's still a handy. Harry Suter's good. Don't give me any shit about Harry Suter. He's a fucking good footballer. Woodfass sucks. I don't like him at all. Castagne's good. Christiansen's good. Tielemans and Ndidi. I mean, they've got... If you had told me 2 years ago Tielemans, Ndidi, Maddison would be on the verge of championship, I would have slapped you in the face and said, no way. Bro, when Brendan Rodgers was playing a 4-1-4-1 with Tielemans, Ndidi, and with Ndidi sitting, Tielemans and Maddison playing slightly ahead, with Vardy up front, Harvey Barnes on one wing and fucking Perez or Albrighton on the other wing. I was looking at that and thinking, that is the most balanced midfield in the country. Like, that midfield of Ndidi, Tielemans and Maddison, when they were finishing 5th, was the best, arguably the most balanced midfield in the country. It was stupidly good. Like, stupidly good. The factor in this position astounds me. But Drewsbury Hall's good. I think they should be fine as well. And then Southampton. Southampton suck. They're going to go down. So sorry to any Southampton supporters, but you suck. You suck a lot of I'm gonna end that sentence there. But yeah, I don't rate your team at all. Ward-Prowse is good. Lavia's good. Apart from that, Walker Peters is alright. Bazanu's alright. Stuart Armstrong sucks. Walcott, as if Theo Walcott hasn't retired yet. Jesus Christ. Yeah, he's not that great at all. Elianusi, Seko Mara, Perud, Roman Perud, Kaltakar is okay. I don't mind him. Could be better. But yeah, they're gonna go down. All right, let's. Who do I think is gonna go down? Who do I think is gonna go down? Let's go. I think in 20th place, I'll go Southampton. I don't think they're going to do it. I think that Southampton are down. I think it's going to be Southampton. Who do I think is going to go down? Who do I think is going to go down? Southampton are down. Southampton are down. They're gone. Southampton are down. Let's move my chair back so I can lean on my table. Here we go. That's nice and close to the camera. Southampton are down. They're down. I think Forest are down. I think Forest are down. So for the sake of completion, I'll go Southampton 20th, Forest 19th. And I know they're currently in the highest team in this bracket. But I'm gonna go Southampton. I'm gonna go. Yeah, okay, I've got it. I'm gonna go with. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, I've got This is what I think the relegation scrap is going to be: Southampton 20th, Nottingham Forest 19th, and Bournemouth in 18th. I just see every other club being too good to go down, and I know that phrase is used a lot, but West Ham have way too much quality. Everton have too much quality. Leicester have just too much individual talent. Leeds, I think Ellen Road is going to get them over the line. I really do. I think the pool of that ground is ridiculous. And I think that leaves Southampton, Forest, and Bournemouth. I think Southampton and Bournemouth are relatively uninspiring for the most part. And I think Forest are a victim of their own kind of demise. They're a victim of their own circumstance. And as much as I want Forest to stay up because I like the club, I just think they've gone about it the wrong way and they've gone too risky, and I don't think it's going to pay off. I think it's one step too far for them. So yeah, that is what I think is going to go down, which is quite interesting considering, which is quite interesting considering where each team is placed right now. Okay, let's move on and let's finish things up with some A-League chat. As I conclude this episode, two things I want to speak about, and briefly because I can't be bothered with one of them in particular. Not this one surprisingly, but Melbourne City crown premiers. It was of course after Adelaide United lost 1-0 to Western United over the weekend, which was a little bit of a shock result considering how good Adelaide have been and how poor Western United have been for the majority of the season. But yeah, it was the final game of the round, and Western United 1-0 win with a Connor Payne goal just before half time, which crowned the Melbourne City the champions. We'll speak about City briefly, but basically, are they like a Melbourne? Is this kind of is this era of Melbourne City the best Premier League? The best Premier League? Fuck me, Jesus Christ! Is this era of Melbourne City the best A-League team we've ever seen? Because you got to look at it as they've won 3 Premiers plates in a row. They've gone back to back to back. No side has ever done that before. You look at the Sydney team of like the mid 2010s. They were very, very good, but probably didn't get as much reward as what they should have because of how good they were. Barcelona probably played the best football and were probably the most aesthetically pleasing team to watch, but they didn't get as much reward out of that team as what they should have. Melbourne City, I think, have the best actual football team to trophies won kind of ratio in the league ever. if they win the toilet seat this season as well, I think that's undisputed. But as much as it hates me to say as a Victory supporter, as much as it pains me, you got to tip your hat to them. And as much as I hate the club, you got to tip your hat to them. They've been very good. They've been very good for quite a while. And credit, you can say how their success has come about. Obviously being bought out by City Football Group, etc. But you can't deny the way that they've run that club. How many youth products have gone on to play in the senior team, dominate the A-League, and have gone on to play in Europe. I've lost count how many, right? So yeah, you got to tip your hat to them. As much as it pains me to say, they're very good and they deserve all the credit that they're getting. But Premier's plates means fuck all. Maybe this season it means a lot, considering what I'm about to mention. But yeah, there you go. Let's finish things up, and I don't want to speak about this for too long because I can't be bothered. But Twitter was blown up over the weekend. Twitter went bang. Football Twitter went bang over the weekend. It was regarding the APL. It was regarding the APL and the boycotting of the finals and the grand final. Now, look, I'm speaking about this from a neutral perspective. I'm not speaking about this from Melbourne Victory perspective because, quite frankly, I don't give a shit. Like, I want the league to do well because I care about football a lot. I just want the league to do well. So I'm not speaking about this from Melbourne Victory perspective because I love the sport, right? And I love the league. And I want the league to do well. In my opinion, I think boycotting the grand final almost is a non-negotiable. And I tell you why. It's because for the long-term prosperity of the league, the current regime and the current way that things are going, the current way things are happening and the current operations of the APL are completely untenable. Completely, truly, and utterly untenable. You can't have it. You cannot have it, right? So boycotting the grand final, which was the main point behind that decision, I think is a must, regardless of your team. Because as I said last year, or as I've said countless times, I should say, football always happens next year. There is always football next year, and the best thing about the A-League is that there's no promotion relegation. So every team can, like, if you're thinking, oh, I want to go see my team because I might not see my team make another grand final in my lifetime. Trust me, regardless of who makes a grand final this year, you will see your team make a grand final again in your lifetime. I can put my house and my life savings on it, right? The question now goes to finals. Do we boycott finals now? Now, personally, I'm very ambivalent towards it. You do you. You want to boycott finals, you boycott finals. If you want to go to finals, you go to finals. However, I think we need to, as fans, ensure that we all are on the same page and are all understanding of what the boycotts are actually achieving, right? If you're on Twitter and you see a Melbourne Victory fan saying boycott the finals and boycott the grand final, it's not because Melbourne Victory aren't there, or it's not because the grand final is going to be between Melbourne City and Adelaide United. It's because Danny and his boys have fucked it for all of us, right? So it could be a Melbourne Victory supporter, it could be a Western United supporter, it could be a Perth Glory, Adelaide United, Western Sydney, Sydney FC, Central Coast Mariners, Newcastle Jets supporter. It doesn't matter. Take the club out of it. The club is irrelevant. The club is truly irrelevant. If we are going to be on the same page as fans, we need to understand and we need to be completely neutral about everything. In terms of, we need to be neutral about our club's allegiances and put all of our energy into boycotting the grand final for one particular reason. And that reason is not because, as a Melbourne Victory supporter, I don't want to go to a grand final, or I don't want people to go to a grand final that has Melbourne City versus Adelaide because they're my club's rivals. It's because Danny and his boys have fucked it for all of us, so we're going to seek revenge. That is why we are boycotting the grand final, if that makes sense. Like I said, boycott the grand final, I think that's a non-negotiable. Boycotting finals, very ambivalent towards it, take your pick. It harms the clubs. It does. And I know boycotting the grand final will harm the clubs, but it will stick the two fingers up at Danny more than anything else, and that is what we need to do. Because I don't want to go over old ground. I'll save it. All right, let's finish things up. Let's do a preview of the week as we wrap things up. Like I said, like we always do. No explanation. Just chatting through. Leeds, Liverpool, that's going to be a good game. Don't really care, but Champions League back. Yay. And Europa League. Chelsea, Real Madrid. I didn't do a Chelsea Real Madrid review on this podcast for a reason. If you want my live thoughts, go on my Twitter, at Ari_Y_Stammer. I tweeted once throughout the game, and you'll know which tweet it is if you just scroll down. Chelsea versus Real Madrid at the Bridge. I'm going to say it because no one else will say it. Chelsea 3-0. We'll go through 3-2 on aggregate. Napoli versus Milan. Milan won, hey. I think Napoli will do them. In Naples, 2-0. Bayern versus Man City. Man City, 2-1 Bayern. Man City go through. Inter versus Benfica, 1-0 Inter at home. Roma Feyenoord, 1-0 Roma. Roma win on penalties. Sevilla Man United, 2-0 Sevilla. Sporting versus Juventus, 2-1 Sporting. 2-1 Sporting on the night. Juventus win on penalties. And the the Belgian team, are they even from Belgium? Or are they from like Hungary or some shit? No, they're from Belgium. Okay, that's fine. Versus Leverkusen. I want Leverkusen to win so I can actually pronounce all the teams that are left in the European competitions, for God's sake. Is there even Conference League? Is that a thing anymore? Where is it? UEFA Conference League. It's not coming up on FOMO. UEFA Conference League. No? It's not coming up. Conference. Oh no, because I'm searching through players. I don't think there's a player called the Conference League, is there? Here we go. Found it. European Conference League. What's going on there? Jesus Christ. AZ Alkmaar versus Anderlecht. West Ham are still in it. Nice are in it. Basel and Fiorentina. And Lech Ponsen. I couldn't give a shit. And then Europa League. I think I finished all Europa League things I did. What Premier League games are going to be interesting? Chelsea I'm playing. Thank God for that. I don't have to torture myself anymore. Newcastle versus Tottenham is going to be a good game. FA Cup semi-final as well. So, which remaining teams are in that? City and United. Sheffield United, Man United, Brighton, and Man City. So hopefully it's a Manchester Derby FA Cup final. That'll be good. And then we return. So yes, that is all. Thank you very much for watching another episode of the Super Attack Podcast. I've been your host, Ari Stamatakos. It's been a pleasure as always. I apologise for the pausing and the coughing and the sneezing and the sniffles because I still am still got a little bit of a cold, but I'll battle through. Thank you all very much for watching. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. I hope it's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed doing this one again. I'm back to relatively full health, which is good. Make sure to subscribe. Follow all the socials, 2 Foot Tackle Podcast on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram, 2FTPod. And there's number 2 FTPod on Twitter. Notification bell, subscribe, like the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Anchor for the audio platforms. There is a link in the bio of both Twitter and Instagram for all your 2 Foot Tackle podcasting needs. Thank you very much for watching. See you guys next week. 10 more subscribers till we hit 400. If we could get that in 11 days, that would be great. Thank you very much for watching. See you guys next week. Thank you for sticking around. See you guys next week. Goodbye.